Straight this time.
You're good.
Head on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Weiner Wellness Virtual Summit. We're here with Mike Gallagher. He is our Pittsburgh, Ohio outside sales representative and field educator. An amazing, I have to say, my favorite rep because he was my rep. But he works for Nutritional Frontiers, has been in the industry for a very long time. I won't date you, Mike, but you can tell them how long. Today, he's going to be talking about DMG, dimethylglycine. So, Mike, I'm going to pull your PowerPoint up. I'm going to disappear, and I'm going to let you take it from here, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Tracy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Weiner Wellness Week. And so I want to thank everybody for coming on today. And of all the nutrients that there are out there in the country and all the amazing vitamins and supplements and nutrients we can offer, I feel this is the most important, dimethylglycine, DMG. So I always say DMG stands for does me good, DMG, but most people never heard of it. So that's why we're doing this, to educate. So like I said, this is something I personally take and have been since I first learned about it many years ago. It's not new. It's actually been around for almost 30 years. Originally, it was called vitamin B15. So people might be familiar with that name, B15. We're not confusing this with any other B vitamin, but that was only for the first couple of years. After that, they changed it to this long-sounding name, dimethylglycine, DMG. And the other amazing thing about DMG is actually already in our cells. It's in every cell in the body. Unfortunately, 99% of us don't make enough of it. And we'll talk about that and why that is in a few slides here. But so we're not adding anything foreign to the body like a drug, which can potentially have side effects. But we're adding something that's already in your body and just bringing it back to proper normal levels. And once we do that, it can have some amazing properties. The other thing too, just a little disclaimer, we're not telling you to get off your medication. You always want to work with your prescribing physician with medication. However, DMG will not interfere with medication. You just want to take it at a separate time away from your medication. But again, we're not here to diagnose. We're not here to treat. We're just here to offer you the information and education base. But we always suggest that you work with a qualified healthcare practitioner, certified in nutrition, or some that realm, who can really know your situation in your case. But be that as you may, it's something DMG, I feel strongly that it can help benefit every single person on some level, some degree. Okay, so the other thing is, can you get this in your food? I mean, people say, oh, I can just eat enough DMG. Well, unfortunately, you can't. It's in trace amounts in peas and in certain meats, but teeny tiny traces. So physically impossible. So you can only get this through a supplemental form. And we have it in two options. The chewable on the left-hand side, which is what I recommend for adults. And then we have it in the liquid. In the liquid, I recommend for animals. So it's very safe for dogs, cats, horses. In fact, there's great research on all those things, as well as babies, infants, toddlers. The liquid would be a better option. Okay. So there's so many amazing things that this does, and we have a very short period of time, but we'll get into it. And these are just highlighting some of the things. Now, DMG actually had US patents, okay, which is extremely rare. And we'll show you these patents here at the end, but it actually had US patents to treat melanoma, skin cancer. So not making any claims with cancer, we're just telling you the research indicates, and now, so we have to use it kind of in past tense, had a US patent, but very powerful. We'll show you some cell studies with that here at the end. Melanoma, skin cancer, arthritis, and all inflammation, which is a root of all chronic health conditions, inflammation. So this can actually help with everything inflammatory wise. and boosting your immune system, as well as treating all inflammatory disease. So we know immune is very, very in the news today with COVID and whatnot. And DMG is one of the things that can actually strengthen and boost your immune system as well. So it has multiple benefits, multiple levels in like very short period of time, but we'll squeeze in what we feel is the most important to make people aware of. Okay, next slide. All right, so functions and health benefits. So this is just a small samples of many other things that it does. So again, a long list here. So it improves oxygen utilization on the cellular level. It's this technical term, methylation, which we'll talk about more in a moment, but it also helps with detoxification, especially the second phase of liver detoxification. As I mentioned, boosts your immune. It helps with all cardiovascular function, heart, again, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, improves liver, helps with brain. And there's great research with autism. And there's also, there have been many doctors and patients tell me through the years how with their child and with ADD and OCD and things like this, depression, and so forth. And again, the big C. So that's, again, a great list. What do I feel is the most important on this list is the first one, improving oxygen utilization. Okay. Why? Because when we improve oxygen into the cells, okay, it will destroy all viruses. Okay. So again, are we making a claim here? Nope. We're just stating simple facts. And this is simple biochemistry. When we improve oxygen, it will destroy all viruses, all parasites, okay, including spirochetes, limes, which some people classify as a parasite, or we like to use the other softer term, microorganism. So the DMG, I've had many, many cases of this helping with Lyme's cases as well. Also, we mentioned cancer, right? Cancer cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment as well. All bacteria as well. So again, when we improve oxygen utilization, everything else will follow. And DMG is one of the only substances that you can take orally that will actually increase oxygen. So this is really powerful, folks. And this is why it can help with all these other amazing things. And we'll talk about that, like I said, in a few slides. But again, great list. There's not a wrong answer. I always ask people what's the most important thing on this list. They're all important, but I feel the most important is improving oxygen. Okay, next. Some additional information, right? So athletes, if you have anybody or yourself personally or family member that is doing any type of athletic event, when we increase that oxygen, we increase endurance, energy. It actually increases ATP, energy on the cellular level, but on the back end, it reduces that lactic acid buildup and improve muscle recovery. So the research on this actually goes back to the 70s. And so Russian athletes were taking this among many other things, shall we say. But again, this is one of the secret weapons that they were using when they were kicking our butts in the Olympics there. So it's very safe to use with any athlete. It's not on any ban list or anything like that. Again, it's already natural in our cells. Anyways, but and then we take it to the next level. We do have a whole athletic line. Pro Oranges is a great pre-workout energy drink, which I use. Power Fuel also is unique, and our super creatine as well on the back end. All of these actually have DMG in it. So again, very, very unique. And again, we're just taking it to the next level of DMG. In fact, we use DMG in over 25 different formulas because of the additional added benefits that you're getting. The heart I mentioned here specifically, it will help with research has shown cholesterol. It'll help with blood pressure, circulation. On the immune side, improving B and T cell function. I mentioned viral and bacterial infections help with that. Next slide. Autism. So the research on autism, we'll show you a couple studies on it, but the autism research goes back to the 80s, that it dramatically helped improve verbal communication, focus. And again, a lot of people, when they first take DMG, they actually can think clearly, right? And mental acuity. I hear that often. So not only energy, but mental acuity and focus. I mentioned arthritis and joint health, lupus, autoimmune issues. So really any autoimmune issue, but especially lupus. When you combine it with perna muscle, so that is the Latin name for one of our formulas, green lipid muscle. That's a great 1-2 combination to help with inflammation as well. And again, the big C. So again, folks, this is just a small sample. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of benefits that DMG can do. Okay. So again, you might not, when you look at that list, you might, it might not all pertain to you, but I guarantee you there's somebody that you know, family member or neighbor that does. So keep that in mind as well as we go through this. Okay, so at Nutritional Frontiers, we're all about the research. And with DMG, the great thing is there's hundreds, thousands of studies with it, as a matter of fact. So we're just going to highlight a few of them here and how it can benefit you today. So let's start with safety. Safety, again, is always number one, of course. And with DMG, there are numerous studies that show it's extremely safe. There have been studies done at Clemson, at USC, animal studies. It's actually been used over 25 years, as I said at the beginning. No significant adverse events, okay? No side effects, folks, zero, right? And again, you can take this with any medication. It's extremely safe. Now, technically, anything has an overdose limit. You can drink water and, too much water and die. And it happened a few years ago. As a matter of fact, it made headlines. So technically anything, but I believe you'd have to consume over 3,000 chewables at once for there to be an overdose situation. So folks, again, it's extremely safe. No concerns whatsoever, both physically and financially, not going to happen. So you can rest assured, very, very safe to do. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the challenging or tricky part with DMG is how much do you need to take? So when we go through this, we're looking at minimums to, at peak maximum levels, right? So just to start with general use and healthy aging, 125 milligrams to 500 milligrams, right? So 125 would be on the low side, 500 would be at your max threshold, so to speak. For that, in our chewables, you're getting 500 milligrams per chew. Okay, so if you don't have any health issues whatsoever, if you just want to stay healthy and prevention, we always say prevention is the best medicine, just one chewable in the morning. And that is what I take, one in the morning personally, if you don't have any health issues. But then we start getting into more serious issues, right? So whether it's arthritis, whether it's immune issues, whether it's circulatory, diabetes, on and on and on it goes there, right? Keeps going. So again, I want to be at the higher threshold. We need to be more aggressive. Generally speaking, I typically recommend 1,000 milligrams if you have any type of inflammation issues. And so that's as simple as 2 chewables a day. So I generally recommend 1 in the morning and 1 at noon, okay? If you have cancer, active cancer, look at that, 1,500 milligrams would be minimum. So again, 3 a day gets us to that 1,500 milligram mark. The third one I would recommend no later than 3 p.m. Because DMG will give people energy, we don't want to take it at night. We don't want to do this before bed or at dinner time because it might impact your sleep. It might interfere with your sleep. So we always want to do it earlier in the day is always the best bet. but as simple as 1, 2, or 3. Okay, 1, 2, or 3 a day. For most cases here, we're looking at 1 or 2, right? Now the liquid is not quite as strong as the chewable. The liquid is 300 milligrams. So you just want to keep that in mind. If you do the liquid, you want to make sure you're doing enough for it to make a difference. Okay, so that's a nice list of where we're looking at from minimum to minor. Now, if a doctor has other muscle testing, kinesiology testing, and whatnot, or machines, and they tell you need, I would always listen to your practitioner, but we're just giving you general recommendations here based on the research. Okay. Next. All right. So because DMG does all these amazing, incredible things, we're just going to focus on the main ones, shall we say, the main ones that we see over and over again, and again, the patents that it has regarding those. Okay. So let's, next slide. Yes. So this is how it always works, as Tracy mentioned before we jumped on her favorite slide. Now, for the for the average person to look at this slide, this might be very overwhelming. So we're just going to try to simplify this as best we can. And again, I always say people, try to go back to your chemistry days in high school and so forth. So we want to read this from left to right. So as I mentioned before, DMG is, again, in our cells, okay, in every cell in our body. And so this is this is a simplified version of the methylation chart. Okay, so again, this is a much more complex version, and there's 42 different conversions that happens in your cell in a millisecond in every cell in our body, and there's over 1 trillion cells in our body. So again, think about that, folks, for 1 second, how incredible our human body is. But this is the whole process of what happens when we are methylating. Okay, so DMG is at the very beginning, right there at the very top left. But then it goes through these conversions. So the first conversion, well, first it pulls from the methyl pool, your methyl donors, and then it goes into sarcosine, pulls from the methyl donors, then it goes into glycine, then it pulls into serine. Now some of it converts into methionine and into SAMe, and then into ATP. Then again, energy. That's how energy is made. As we talked about, why we want to take this earlier in the day and why this can be great for pre-workout energy drinks, because it doesn't contain any caffeine and burn, no sugar, of course, or anything like that, like a lot of the commercial sports drinks are. But homocysteine, then in cysteine, and then eventually glutathione. So glutathione is your master antioxidant. It is your king or queen of antioxidants. And DMG is one of the few rare substances that will actually increase glutathione. Okay, so if we go to a hospital, for example, say you're in an emergency and they dramatically want to increase your glutathione, they will give you an intravenous drip, right? Shoot it right into you. And that's the majority of what they are familiar with. What I see a lot working with all different types of practitioners, they're not familiar with their supplements that actually can increase glutathione levels. And DMG is one of the, as I mentioned, one of the only things that can actually do this, but we kind of have to backdoor it in, so to speak, in order to increase glutathione. But when we do increase glutathione, it strengthens your immune system. Okay, so this is one of the many reasons why DMG actually had a US patent to boost your immune. Okay, but let's give some other examples of this methylation, some real world examples that people maybe not familiar with. Now, again, when we go through this process, every single person is out of balance in one of these areas. Again, it's impossible. There's a lot of reasons for it. Genetics does play a role. Your food, toxicity, of course, do definitely play a role, but it can affect us on so many different levels. So let's just look at serine, that serine methylator. Now, this is associated with neurological issues. If you're a poor serine methylator, this is associated with autism. This is associated with ADD and OCD. And this is also associated even with addictions as well, drug, alcohol, tobacco. Okay. So does it mean you're the end all be all? I mean, not necessarily, but again, when you are, your body's just not able to rebalance properly. So DMG is trying to rebalance this particular methylator. Okay, just to give you an example, SAMI, let's look at SAMI there. SAMI is associated with depression. Okay, now you can just take SAMI, and SAMI has benefits as well. It helps with inflammation too, as well as depression. Okay, but if you just take SAMI, what if you have one of those other methylators that are also imbalanced? Okay, so again, DMG actually helps with SAMI and all those other methylators as well. And then homocysteine, this is actually associated with cardiovascular issues, heart disease, and so forth. And hospitals and doctors are testing homocysteine methylators right now. If you have low homocysteine or poor homocysteine, or it's out of balance homocysteine, DMG is one of the few substances you can take that will help with homocysteine. And then cysteine associated with liver. Okay, so liver detoxifiers we talked about earlier before, but let's use again different, very simple analogy. There are some people that I know who can drink coffee after dinner and have no trouble going to sleep, and there's other people who drink a cup of coffee and caffeine and they are bouncing off the walls for the next 2 days. Okay, so there's an example of where cysteine, you are either high or low in that example, you're out of balance. And DMG is one of the few things that will actually help to rebalance cysteine, which in turn will help detox, which in turn will help eliminate those toxins out of your body as well, which is why we use it in our Live Clear 2 formula, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, glutathione. Okay, so there's some real world, real life reasons and examples of this methylation aspect of it. But here's the bottom line, folks. If you take DMG, it will help with all these methylators all at the same time. Okay, so keep that in mind. And again, now methylation, another term for methylation is absorption. And a lot of people are very poor absorbers of their nutrients. Digestion plays a role, of course, absolutely. Leaky gut, GI, okay. But this also plays a role in a genetic aspect or on a methylation aspect of it. So if you combine DMG with any other supplement, it will enhance it. So if you like a certain supplement, get great results with it. If you start taking DMG with it, I would bet money that it'll make it work even faster. You maybe not need to take as much because it'll make it more efficient as well. And so it won't interfere with any other supplement, which is why we use it in over 25 other supplements in our line. We use DMG more than any other nutritional company. I always tell people it's like our secret sauce. Again, it will take any supplement to another level because of this. Now, the medication side, as I said earlier, will not interfere, but it should make that medication more efficient. So working with your prescribing physician, okay, let them know if you choose to try out the DMG, okay, let them know about it, that we always say bring in the text sheet, and doc, as my condition improves, can you help me lower my medication? Okay, that's how we would phrase it. Very simple. You know, they just want to see results. They want to see lab tests. They want to see all the numbers improve. But again, combining DMG should improve all those lab numbers and improve your symptoms. So will not interfere, should only enhance. But there's nothing out there on that I've studied in the nutritional world that does this, that does every one of these methylators that it helps rebalance. That is why the research on this is so strong. That is why it's so unique in the industry, and that's why it is my favorite supplement. Okay, next slide. Tracy, let's go back 1 second real quick. I'm sorry, go back one more time, because this is another really important point on the bottom right there. So the methyl transfer, it also, if you combine folate I don't recommend folic acid, but folate, like our quadrifolate, and B vitamins. This also helps with the whole methylation as well. So if you're a poor methylator, or if you have that genetic SNP, MTHFR, our Super B has quadrifolate, B vitamins, and DMG in there. So again, I just want to point that out as well to folks too. Okay, next slide. The book. All right. So because of time, folks, we're limited on, what all the amazing things. So at the Water Wellness Center, they have this book. Okay. It's written by a PhD, Dr. Roger Kendall. He spent his entire lifetime researching DMG. It is a fantastic book. So if you don't believe anything that I'm saying to you today, or you want to learn more about it on your own, I strongly recommend this book for you. It's fantastic. It's hard to put down. Actually, they have it down in different chapters. There's a whole chapter just on autism, a whole chapter on cancer, a whole chapter, and a lot of these things that we're talking about today. But again, at the very back, and I actually have this book with me. It's my favorite book. So I mentioned increasing oxygen utilization. So if you go to the very last page under the index, there's about 40 pages throughout the book that shows you how it increases oxygen into the cells and why it can be so beneficial for helping with all viruses. Okay, research. There's also hundreds and hundreds of studies referenced with this as well. So it's one of the most researched books, or actually one of the most researched nutrients on any supplement that I've ever studied as well. So I always joke with the doctor if I meet with them for the first time and he never heard of DMG, and 99% of them never have. I always show them this book. I said, Doc, do the research. Do you want that alphabetical order or top 100? And they joke and laugh and breaks the ice. But the research on this is so strong, folks. This, again, if you don't believe me, the book has it all there for you. Okay, next slide. Okay, with the time remaining, we'll talk about these patents. Now, again, patents only last so long, 20 years. So some of these patents go back a long time. The patents have run out, so we have to use it in the past tense, but they still are very beneficial and show you the uniqueness with DMG. So all other foods, all the supplements, okay, the FDA, you have to have that warning on it, may not prevent, treat, or cure disease. With DMG, again, when the patent was available, they actually could make that claim. It's the only one that I've ever seen that could do this, folks. So the first patent goes back to 1991 here that we're showing treatment of arthritis and inflammation using dimethylglycine. So think about that for just a second. You're treating a condition with a supplement, right? Just like a drug, but unlike a drug, there's no side effects, okay? No potential side effects. So to have a U.S. patent, I don't think people realize what it takes. It costs a lot of money. First of all, there has to be a tremendous amount of research to actually have a U.S. patent, and then it needs approval with the, FDA and so forth. So again, very, very unique to go all through the steps and processes here. So we're going to highlight the patent in the next slide here. We're just going to show you a few things. So again, it's shown to have all anti-inflammatory properties. It reduces inflammatory markers. Okay, so these markers, folks, PG2, so that's prostaglandin 2, TNF, interleukin 6. Okay, these are the same markers that drug companies test for when they're testing drugs. And DMG has shown to reduce all the same inflammatory markers. Okay, so very powerful. And when we originally came out with DMG, if you had arthritis, our recommendation was combining DMG with fish oil, omega-3D, with HA+. Okay, now we've taken it to next level when we now have available X-Flame. And the X-Flame has DMG in it, plus another unique patented trademarked ingredient, cresolazine, that also has research to reduce pain inflammation as well. So you can do DMG, absolutely, right? But if you want even faster results, if you combine it with our X-Flame formula, and the fish oil and HA Plus to rebuild, that has helped thousands and thousands of people. So keep that in mind if that is you or if you know somebody who has those issues. Okay, next slide. Okay, so again, just a couple other studies, animal studies here at the very top, just DMG, and you have the control group. You can see the difference there, cut in more than half with just DMG, reducing inflammation. And this bottom slide there, prevention of inflammation with Perna and DMG. So again, that is a formula we call green lipid muscle, right? And when you combine both of those, you got even greater results than just DMG by itself. So again, the research, we list the references there for you to check out, but they're among many. We could have had slide after slide. We just pulled a few here for inflammation. It also reduces free radicals as well. That's one of the ways that we age. Free radical, basically rust on your cells. So you can also classify DMG as an anti-aging formula as well, which I know appeals to a lot of people, as well as the immune system. Okay, next slide. All right, this is more recent, 2007. So this is 2 parts. So the top left there, just reading it, methods and compositions for modulating immune response. So that is just a fancy way of saying boosting your immune system, and for the treatment of all inflammatory disease. Okay, again, I'll say that one more time because it's very powerful to say. Treating all inflammatory disease with DMG. And again, folks, I've never seen that ever before or since. The supplement can make this statement. Okay, so again, the patent ran out, so we have to use it in past tense, but it's still a powerful statement to say. And all chronic health condition is considered inflammation, and DMG will help with every single one of those. Okay, so powerful. Next slide. Okay, so let's go back to the immune. This is another fantastic study. So we are looking at lymphocytes, T cells, all right? These are your like Pac-Man. You go around and eat away all the virus and bacteria and so forth and so on. The more you have, the better. So this study actually looked at 3 different groups, okay? In the study, the first 3 were normal. The second 3 were sickle cell, and the last 3 were diabetics. So in yellows, before they took the DMG, and you can see the numbers on, and then on the right, the blue is after they took DMG. And if you go through that list, folks, you'll see every single case, every single person dramatically increased T cell production. In fact, if you average this out in this study, it showed on average 400% increase in T cell production. And folks, I'll just say this right now, okay? There's no drug, there's no vaccine, there's no other supplement that I've ever studied that shows a 400% increase in T cell lymphocyte production, but DMG has shown that. So please keep that in mind. All right, this is really important now more than ever before for your immune system, okay? Because that increases oxygen. It will destroy. Viruses can't survive. So again, and we know it's a big deal right now with kids going back to school, with wearing masks. It's been shown to deplete oxygen. So it not only will help increase oxygen, but it will also help to boost your immune system. And so keep that in mind. Okay, next slide. Seizures. So you might say, Mike, well, I don't have any seizures, but you might know somebody who does, or a family member, like I said, or a friend or a neighbor. So the first thing is look at who wrote this. The study was done New England Journal of Medicine. Okay, so New England Journal of Medicine is one of the most peer-reviewed study journals in the entire country. It is read by medical doctors. They refer to New England Journal of Medicine when they do talks and lectures. It is one of their absolute best authoritative referrals that when they look at studies. goes back to October 21st, 1982 for seizures. Okay. So the way we read this on the left there, this group in this study was averaging 17 seizures a week before DMG. As soon as they started taking DMG within 1 week, from week 1 to 2, look at that drop, went from 17 to 3. Okay. Now they maintained that DMG for the next few weeks to week 5, then they stopped it. And then look at that. It went right back up to where it did originally. And then a couple of weeks later, they started the DMG again, and then went right back to where it did down to averaging 3 seizures a week. And then they maintained that to week 11. At week 11, they actually increased the DMG. So if we're breaking it down to our chewables, they went from 1 DMG to 2 chewables of DMG at that strength level, 1,000 milligrams. And look at that, it went from 3 to 1. 3 to 1, it dropped down to 1 seizure on average. They maintained that level to week 14. At week 14, they stopped it. Now it did come back, but not as bad as it did originally. And then they started it right back again at week 14, or week 15. And then for the next 20 weeks, it maintained on that one a week average. Okay. So folks, again, for anybody with seizures, this is very powerful. This is also fantastic for animals with seizures as well. Again, we recommend the liquid based on body weight. But there was one of my other practitioners who had a patient with seizures, and he was averaging 80 a month, 80. I told him about this and showed him this exact study, and he said he would try it. And folks, the person went from 80 to 0 in 1 month. 1 month, 80 to 0. So I personally have seen this work. Now, again, everybody's different. We get it, but the research is very strong. So again, might not pertain to you, but might somebody that you know, keep that in mind. Will not interfere with any medication. Okay, next slide. Autism. So again, the research on this is very strong. Again, you might not have this yourself, but you might know somebody, a family or a friend that does. The research on this, again, goes back to the 80s and 90s. Here's a study. 80% of autistic children showed improvement. 8-0. 8 out of 10 showed improvement. Better verbal communication, cooperation, eating, bathroom habits, all improved. Okay, that is tremendous. Next slide. Okay, Dr. Rimland is another practitioner. Again, there's research with him since the 80s. Again, he saw very similar benefits, also helped improve sleep as well. So again, folks, if there's one thing, if you know somebody with autism, please share this with them. Make them aware. It's worth trying. Okay. Next. There's again, there's great white paper articles on this. This is, again, a double-blind study that was done as well with autism. So again, we just pulled a few things here, folks, just to show you there's many more studies where this came from. Next slide. Again, Dr. Jung, he saw exactly the same thing as well as the previous 2 doctors. So again, anybody with autism, please share. Okay, last one, save the best for last. The patent on this goes back 1991. DMG, treatment of melanoma using dimethylglycine, skin cancer. And folks, melanoma is one of the toughest cancers there is. DMG had a US patent to actually make that statement, treating melanoma with DMG, right? Very powerful. No other supplement I've ever studied or since can make a statement regarding cancer. And again, we have to use it now in past tense, but for 20 years, that's how long patent, is good for. We can make that statement regarding skin cancer, melanoma. So again, to make a statement like this, to have a US patent on it, there's you have to have the research, and there's tons of it with cancer. But we're just going to show you a few slides here. Next slide there. So in animal and cell culture studies, DMG has shown to both prevent and reverse cancer. Very important. So we pulled one study. We feel it's one of the most powerful studies that was done on DMG with tumors. And this is a study where in mice, where they actually induced tumors. Okay. So seeing a slide is one thing, but here, seeing a graph is a little bit better. So the control group is in yellow, and then in blue is after they used DMG. And look at the reduction there. The study showed that over 60% reduction in tumor size. Okay, 6-0. But so it's one thing to see a graph, it's actually another to see the actual cell culture study. So here's what they look like. So you can see them there with the arrows, and they're pointed at the tumor. They're in green. So this was before DMG. And then the next slide, this is after. Folks, this is actually 90 days later in this study, 3 months, they saw this kind of results. Okay. Now, would DMG, if someone had cancer, of course, this is not the only thing. It's a big puzzle piece. We strongly recommend you go see, again, a certified practitioner regarding cancer, but DMG definitely should be on everybody's radar, on everybody's wish list. Again, it's one piece of a large puzzle, depending on the type of cancer and where you are with the treatment and how long you've had and severity and all those different issues that I can't answer on a webinar. Neither, so we just want to point this out. This is not the only thing nutritionally you should do, but it's a really important thing. It should be the most important thing that you do is DMG if you have that issue. So again, the research is very strong on this. Okay. So liquid or chewable, it is featured is on special this month at Dr. Weiner Wellness Center there. Again, tremendous special, 30% off the entire Nutritional Frontiers line. So there's 60 chewables in the box. All right. Hi, Tracy. For those who want to order, please call 412-922-WELL. And they are offering free shipping over $75. You can also go to the website, drweiner, WINER.com. But folks, if you've never tried this, please try this out. I use it every day myself. It's one of the things that have been since I first learned about 11 years ago, every single day. Dr. Tracy, anything you would like to say?
No, that was great. I always learn something, every time I see the presentation. And I think Kelly did it for us first. She used to educate all over the country about DMG, but I take mine too. So it's like a little QVC moment. But I eat like 4 a day. So I'm glad there are no toxic levels because I'd be in trouble.
Only 4, huh?
Right. Only 4. Well, I get hungry and they're here, so I eat them.
Like candy. Tastes
I
like
do.
a cherry
I
sweet
do.
tart.
I do that one, the Probzyme, and then I'm always eating the Power Qs as well. Anything that's chewable is on my desk, and then that's what I eat during the day. So, but what I noticed was this, with this was more energy for me personally. I sit in front of a computer a lot. And then, when I listened to a lecture that Sherry gave, and she was quoting a pathologist, like a head pathologist, who was saying about low oxygenation and situ carcinomas, which are precancerous cells that we all have. And he was saying when your pulse ox levels get below a certain point, we actually activate those little precancerous cells that our body would normally just take care of if our oxygenation or O2 saturation of our blood would stay high. But he said, with this mask mandates that are going around and all these people wearing masks and kids in masks, what this lead pathologist said was that we're going to see a 200% increase in cancers over the next 5 years, especially in children. And so it kind of like dawned on me. I was like, wait a second, what do we have that oxygenates, right? And so I said DMG. So I got on and did a little thing, and I was like, if you have to wear a mask for work or your kids have to wear them for school, you should be taking this every single day. And I would recommend 500 milligrams, which is one chewable. And so this might be something we'll have to show Dr. Sherry, right?
Yes.
That, you know, because it's a big thing right now is we're all worried about this virus, which we heard from Judy yesterday. Not really the virus that's causing all this stuff, but now we're masking and deoxygenating. And this is the one product that can bring up those oxygen levels in the body. So it's a great product. It's universal, works for everything. I haven't found anything that it hasn't worked for. So
Yeah. And just speaking about that too, you know, working with a lot of practitioners who are wearing masks themselves, you know, working in the health field, a lot of them have been complaining to me. They're starting to get headaches a lot. They're starting to have throat issues, let alone facial problems, right? They call it maskne. It's the acne maskne, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
liquid
it
on
affects
there,
the
right?
skin, right? Affects a lot of different things. So we're not going to debate whether it's right or wrong. Hey, that's your personal choice, whatnot. But if your child is wearing it, like you said, absolutely, before they get on the bus, to give them one, see if they don't notice the difference, and it
And
will help their
cognitively,
focus.
right? Exactly, right?
It's going to help their schoolwork. What's
the
the, you know,
win-win.
win-win? Strengthen your immune, get that oxygen, make them breathe better. Many levels.
And all the homeschool moms right here, take this. This will help. This will help you. It will help you.
Yes.
So yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, you had a lot of comments just saying, you know, tagging people. I think this is a product that we need to talk more about, and, you know, especially right now, because when people say, you know, if I could only take one thing, if I can only afford one thing, this is 100% my go-to every time. I'm like, if you can just do one thing out of our entire line, that's all you can afford, get Enter DMG. That's exactly what I tell people, and I stand by it. It's my favorite one so far. Haven't Women's Complete came close, but I was like, still DMG.
Yes.
So thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, stay tuned because we have the roundtable coming up with Candace, Dr. Orbach, and Joe Messino. They'll be talking about inflammation and dis-ease of the body. What can we do about chronic inflammation and its potential to cause dis-ease of the body? So thanks, guys. We'll see you at noon. Great job, Mike.
Thanks. Bye, buddy. Bye now. God bless.